Coming to the big story we're tracking here on India Today, External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj has clarified to the Prime Minister on the Lalit Modi issue that she said that everything was done according to government rules. Meanwhile, security has also been increased outside Swaraj's residence in wake of any possible protests. Well, that's a big breaking news coming in on India Today. The biggest scandal that hits the year-old Modi government. Sushma Swaraj has clarified to Prime Minister Modi on the former IPL chief Lalit Modi's issue that she said that everything was done according to government rules. Meanwhile, security has been beefed up outside her residence in wake of any possible protests. That was a big row that erupted over External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj's allegedly helping former IPL boss Lalit Modi. She has come out and she has clarified to Prime Minister Modi that everything was done according to government rules. And meanwhile, security has also been beefed up outside her residence just in case if any protest or any untoward incident happens outside her residence. All right, joining me live from the residence outside of Sushma Swaraj's residence is Deputy Editor Smita Sharma. Smita, a big row that has erupted for a year-old Modi government.
Absolutely, Amita, and yes, the India Today viewers, you're watching this special broadcast which we are bringing you live from outside of Sushma Swaraj's 8 Safdarjung Lane residence. That's where, of course, the Union Home External Affairs Minister Sushma Swaraj is at the moment. Remember, it's a political storm brewing here in the national capital this Sunday. There was a dust storm in the capital yesterday, and it's a political storm today. But just a few minutes earlier in this entire area, we've seen, in fact, more police barricades being brought in, also security being beefed up, more security personnel and PCR vans also being deployed. Police are telling us that perhaps they have heard that there might just be some protests which are possibly going, we will see through the course of the day. It is that big story that we are here tracking on India Today. Did Sushma Swaraj actually expedite the former IPL Commissioner Lalit Modi's travel papers to the UK and in a way use her influence and position to give him a favor? Was there a conflict of interest here? This is the severe allegation against her. This is that huge row. Remember Keith Vaz, who has been a Labour MP and one of the longest serving Indian origin MPs in the UK. He had written a letter to Sushma Swaraj, which of course India Today also has access, and we will try and take you through the content of this letter both on the iPad here that I have, as well as we will display those graphics on screen for you. This letter, which was dated for 31st of July 2014, it was in fact addressed to Rapson Sarah Rapson, who is the head of UK Visa and Immigration Department. So in this letter, Keith Vaz writes to Sarah Rapson that he has been given clearance by Sushma Swaraj, and Sushma Swaraj has spoken to the UK High Commissioner Keith Vaz as well, to the UK High Commissioner to India, which is Sir James Bevan as well. Though Sushma Swaraj, remember, later on this morning when she came out on the Twitter, she posted her tweets and clarifying that everything was done according to the rule book. We learned that she has now spoken to Prime Minister Narendra Modi and clarified her position. We have Executive Editor Javed Ansari joining us live from the newsroom, and also Brajesh Pandey joining us from the BJP headquarters. First to you, Brajesh. There was a press conference that was expected today. What is the status of that press conference, and will any other BJP senior leader also come out in defense of Sushma Swaraj?
Well, Smita, as far as the BJP is concerned, there's a deafening silence. There was a press conference which was to be addressed by Siddharth Nasing, a senior BJP leader, at 1 p.m. But that press conference has been cancelled. And the reason which has been given is that there is no electricity at the BJP headquarters at 11 Ashoka Road. And this is the reason why that press conference has been cancelled. Now, hilarious as it may seem like, the whole of BJP has kind of gone into a huddle, and nobody, I spoke to at least 3 to 4 very senior BJP leaders and ministers. They have said that it is highly unlikely that anybody will come out and speak to the public and speak to the press, and whatever Sushma Swaraj has tweeted is expected to be the official stand as far as the government is concerned. No spokesperson is also willing to come forward and speak, because they all know how sensitive this issue is. But they all concede that, given the kind of one-year press conferences which has been done by most of the ministers, this controversy has hit the BJP at the most unlikely time. Sweta?
Absolutely, and Sushma Swaraj is, of course, a high-profile minister, but who maintains a low profile, who has been maintaining a distance from the media, not really addressing press conferences every now and then, except for the annual conference that she's done very recently. But Javed, take us through the kind of allegations that we are looking at here, especially in terms of Sushma Swaraj. We know that she's also had long-standing relations with Lalit Modi, but if there was indeed a conflict of interest, what is the favor that we are looking at, which is alleged that Sushma Swaraj might just have taken?
It's not just a case of impropriety. What compounds it is the fact that her daughter happens to be on the legal team of Mr. Lalit Modi. Then her husband gets a thank you note. Now, what was the role? What is it that Mr. Swaraj Kaushal is being thanked for? What is it? What is the favor that he's being thanked for? And then the union minister goes out of the way to facilitate travel documents for somebody who's wanted in India, for somebody who's a fugitive from law in India. This is a gross case of impropriety. And more than that, now the onus is on Prime Minister Narendra Modi. He's been adopting the moral high ground when it comes to questions of impropriety. He believes, and he's made a great virtue of this, saying that everything should be done in a transparent manner. Here are facts that stare him in the face, and this is the first scandal of sorts. Yes. And all eyes will be on what action Prime Minister Modi decides to take or not to take.
Absolutely. For now, though, it seems that there is going to be some amount of a deafening silence, because we also learned from our sources that Sushma Swaraj did speak to Narendra Modi a short while ago. Remember, we are in 8 Safdarjung Lane, and in fact, Sushma Swaraj's personal secretary, Mr. Satish Gupta, also came out a short while ago, and he mentioned to us journalists that whatever Mrs. Swaraj has to say, she has already spoken, she's already posted her arguments on Twitter. Let's try and just get you a sense of what Mr. Satish Gupta was really saying to journalists.
Yeah, what is?
Look at the Twitter. Whatever she has to say.
Actually, the Congress of moral grounds where they're seeking her resignation. Usme, has she something to add to it?
Whatever his station is, whatever she has to say.
She'll not give us.
Okay.
She will not come out. So please, no point waiting.
So has she spoken to the Prime Minister or something? Because there are some people are saying that the Prime Minister.
I can only say whatever she has to say, she has said on Twitter.
Okay, sir. Right. See. But will we expect like another updated something through the day or something?
Whenever there is, it will come on Twitter.
Okay, not on camera. Okay, so there you heard it. We were trying to get a sense from Mr. Satish Gupta, who left Sushma Swaraj's residence a short while ago. Also, let me just get you a quick sense of what is happening here on the ground. While there are media persons waiting, of course, for Mrs. Swaraj's on-record, on-camera reactions, there are also these policemen who have now come in here and have been deployed on 8 Safdarjung Lane, just in case, anticipating some protests, maybe from opposition parties who have now been asking for Sushma Swaraj's resignation. Rahul Kamal, managing editor, also joins us. But before we go over to him, let's try and play across some of the political reactions coming in at this point.
ऑफेंडर है और वो भी इन्फोर्समेंट डायरेक्टरेट का ऑफेंडर है। पैसा को इधर उधर मनी लॉन्ड्रिंग और क्या क्या और भी कई तरह के आरोप ईडी लगाती है, और उसके बाद देश का विदेश मंत्री उसकी मदद करता है। ये बहुत ही चिंता का विषय है, और हम समझते हैं कि अगर थोड़ी भी नैतिकता होगी तो सुषमा स्वराज जी से नरेंद्र मोदी जी त्यागपत्र मांगेंगे।
ये सारी बातें एक बहुत ही मैं समझता हूं गंभीर है कि भारत की विदेश मंत्री ऐसे व्यक्ति की सिफारिश कर रही हैं जो कि भारत से के कानून से भगोड़ा साबित हो गया है। मैं अपील करता हूं सुषमा जी से कि वे मॉरल ग्राउंड पर तत्काल इस्तीफा दे दें।
For a person who is trying to escape an ED probe and he has the temerity to go straight to the Minister for External Affairs, if there are grounds of compassion, then the normal course of things, the government should give the papers. Why does he need to go to the External Affairs Minister? And is it Sushma ji's compassion for all those who are facing the ED probe? Is that the message which they want to send from the Minister of External Affairs? It is a shocking case of grave impropriety, and I believe the Prime Minister himself should answer this.
He has been evading the law, absconding from the country, and he is an offender. What forced Srimati Sushma Swaraj to go out of the way to help him? She has to explain. And Mr. Narendra Modi, the Prime Minister, should explain how this is in accordance to the good governance that he has been promising to the people of this country.
Okay, much political action there this Sunday, and Sushma Swaraj, remember early this morning at around 9 o'clock, she started posting her arguments in her defense on Twitter. And of course, she said there that sometime in July 2014, it was when Lalit Modi had spoken to her about his wife who was suffering from cancer, and that her surgery had been fixed for 4th of August in Portugal. And he told her that he had to be present in the hospital to sign the consent papers. So Sushma Swaraj posting that clarification on Twitter, saying that if she intervened, it was essentially on a humanitarian ground. And she even asked, in fact, Keith West as well as the UK High Commission here, the UK High Commissioner Sir James Bevan, to process the papers only as per the UK rules and regulations. And that is the clarification that the party also seems to be now planning to stick to. Joining me live also is consulting editor sports Boria Majumdar from London. Boria, you know, for the benefit of the viewers, we are talking about a person like Lalit Modi here. Try and explain to us what is the nature of those charges against him, because does it justify to explain this entire move on the grounds of an humanitarian intervention?
The fact of the matter is humanitarian intervention is a very different matter. I mean, Lalit's wife had cancer and he went to Portugal. I know that because last year at that point in time India Today was in touch with him. I mean, the charges are different. I mean, there are enforcement directorate probing charges, there are IPL charges, there are fraud charges of about 1,000 crores or more. But none of those charges have been proved, Shweta, yet. I mean, the enforcement directorate has dragged its feet on this. Nothing has been proved. Lalit has been claiming that he is innocent. And this is a very different matter. His wife had cancer. He had to be present in Portugal to sign the consent papers. Now, that these two, if you know, so Lalit will claim that there is no charge.
Okay, so and as they say, of course, you know, innocent until proven guilty. Rahul Kaval, managing editor, also now joins us here. But Rahul, the question being asked here is really, you know, if there was a compassionate humanitarian ground that was present, then why not go through regular government procedures? Why need an external affairs minister to intervene?
Well, for one, Sushma Swaraj has been a very hands-on minister. She's been intervening not just in this case, but several other cases on Twitter and elsewhere. And she's kind of built a reputation as someone who's very hands-on, dealing with people directly. We've been speaking to very senior people in the Bharatiya Janata Party to assess what they make of the damage that's been done. The first thing, Smita, that I think we must stress is that one channel in particular has been somehow trying to make people believe that this is their story, it's their expose. It's not. The story appeared on the 7th of June in Sunday Times in London for the first time. It's a British newspaper, and that's where the story came to light. So all the essential details that are now being discussed in the public domain in India have not been broken by any Indian journalist. They've been put out in the public domain by a British newspaper. I think that is very essential in this whole era of hyperventilation, this whole era of trying to spin stories in a particular way. I think that is something we shouldn't lose focus of. It's a British story. It's being chased here.
Okay, now, Rahul, hold your thoughts for a bit. I will come back to you. Rahul, I'm sorry, just hold your thoughts for a bit. I'm joined by the BJP's Kanchan Gupta on the phone line here. You know, your first reactions really, Mr. Kanchan Gupta, because there are opposition parties who are now gunning for Ms. Sushma Swaraj's head on grounds of morality.
Let me correct you. I am not speaking on behalf of the BJP. I am just speaking as a senior journalist. You see, I find it very strange that a story that is based on events that happened a year ago should surface now. So clearly there is an attempt on to plant the story, both as Rahul just now mentioned, in the British media and in the Indian media. The reason for planting it in the British media could be local politics because Keith Vaz is involved. And the reason for planting it in Times Now would be, it could be either internal politics of the BJP or it could be politics of the country. Now, I am not going into the details of it.
So, fair enough. There could be questions about whether this is a plant, the timing of the plants, if it is one. But having said that, the timing basically does not take away from the allegations themselves.
No, what is the allegation? The allegation is that in July 2014, Lalit Modi wrote or spoke to the foreign minister saying that he needs to travel to Portugal because his wife is undergoing cancer surgery and he needs to sign authorization papers. And for that, he needs travel documents because at that particular point of time, his passport had been seized by the government. Now, the British authorities had told Lalit Modi that that there is this apprehension that India-UK ties could be impinged, as the UPA government had earlier communicated to them, if they were to issue travel papers. So Sushma said, no, go ahead, issue travel papers on humanitarian grounds. Why should it impinge India-UK
so you seem to suggest that this intervention was on humanitarian grounds. There was no question of impropriety here. Thanks much for joining us with your views. But Boria, in fact, before we take a short break, very quickly get us the sense of what are the allegations against Keith Vaz there now. Okay, it looks like we've lost Boria, but Rahul, you know, in terms of the impropriety or the conflict of interest that we're talking about, what are the allegations against Keith Vaz? That if there was a conflict of interest, or what were the benefits that Keith Vaz got really out of this intervention?
Well, the email trail very clearly reveals that Keith Vaz was using his connections with Foreign Minister Sushma Swaraj to curry favor with Lalit Modi. And why was the entire system bending backwards to try and facilitate this for somebody who's an enforcement directorate accused is something that really needs to be looked at very deeply. But I think what Kanchan alludes to is very significant. It's the other unspoken dimension in this story. Are we now seeing in the Modi Sarkar a Chidambaram versus Pranab style face-off? Are we seeing senior elements in the government at loggerheads? Is this the intensity war of the sort that we witnessed where Pranab Mukherjee and Chidambaram of advancing senior Muslim leaders were at loggerheads stories against each other?
Okay, Rahul, I seem to be losing your connection there. There seems to be a technical glitch, but pertinent point being raised there, is it really about impropriety issues, about that conflict of interest story playing out, and in fact the lid which was blown off in a British daily, or is it also got to do something about a minister versus minister in Narendra Modi's own cabinet? We will continue to track all the angles to this big story this Sunday afternoon with all our correspondents and our guests as well. Stay tuned with India Today.